Jay here, and this week on Trans Channel we are talking about LGBT friendly counselling and therapy. Now, I'm really happy this came up because I only started therapy in regards to gender and transition earlier today. So I'm really pumped that this came up because now I have more experience about this than I did 2 days ago. So I think the most important thing to come up with first is just how do you know if someone is LGBT friendly in terms of counselling and therapy? Pardon? I think the first thing you need to look for is someone who doesn't invalidate your identity. When in my school we have counsellors, and I went to one of them for a while, and she always tried to butt in and say that like I'm too young to know who I am, and therefore she wouldn't let me definitively label myself, which I found very uncomfortable. Like even though I made it vehemently clear to her that I was openly bisexual, she would aggressively say, well, you don't know. You're just questioning. And I'm like, no. If you invalidate somebody's identity and tell them that they're not what they say they are, then they're definitely not an LGBT-friendly counselor or therapist. So secondly, this goes especially for trans people, someone who respects your name and your pronouns. When I went into therapy this morning, this afternoon, okay? When I went in, the woman called me Jay from the very beginning. She didn't try to call me anything other than Jay, even though she knew my birth name. She did not call me that. And she didn't try to tell me that I was only questioning. She didn't try to tell me I wasn't who I said I was. And that is a sign of a good counsellor. And also a good thing to have in an LGBT counsellor is somebody who's knowledgeable about identities. Like, let's say somebody who's like an LGBT friendly counsellor, but you bring up your identity and it's just, they're like, what? I've never heard of that before. But like, if they know most, or a lot at least, of a lot of identities, then like it could probably be a good sign. Because if they're knowledgeable, then they might be more help to you. What makes counselors important to LGBT people? Like, why do we go? Why do we need this? Well, I think there's a few reasons for this. If you're questioning yourself and it's very difficult for you personally to figure yourself out, then maybe you want to go to counselling because maybe getting your feelings out in the open, being able to share with someone confidentially is what you want to try and figure yourself out. I think it's also because support. You need people and things to support you. And I know some people are in families and communities and environments that don't support them. And maybe your counsellor becomes your only form of support. And that's a very important thing because everyone needs people, you know? Also, counsellors for trans people especially are very important in regards to transition. I know a lot of people don't like that other people get to make their decisions for them in terms of transition. As in, someone else gets to decide when you're ready to start hormone therapy. Or someone else gets to decide if you're ready for surgery, etc., etc. Other people are signing off letters saying that you are ready for this. But at the same time, these counsellors can help us work through our feelings. They can help us combat dysphoria that we still have, even after we've gone through any hormones or surgeries that we wanted to. Maybe it's just something persistent that you can't change about yourself, but is dysphoric, but just does induce dysphoria in you. So maybe that's another reason you need a counsellor. Also, sometimes we rush into things. We think we're ready for something, but we're actually not. And I think that's another reason why counsellors are important. They can help you understand and be sure that you're ready. I think this is a good point to mention that this week's organisation is Creative Insights, and they offer counselling for LGBT people or youth specifically without them having to come out to their parents. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it does. The last thing I want to say here is about about therapists who try to cure LGBT people. So I feel that therapists who try to assure LGBT people are trying to press their views on other people too much. As in, they are enacting and pressing that they disapprove of their identity onto this person and causing them harm because of it. I think that people who try to cure LGBT people are only going to cause more harm than good and possibly leave the person, especially if they're young and impressionable, very traumatized and very, very lost and feeling very bad about their identity. And I think that these people should not be allowed to practice these things. I think it's harmful. I think it's I think it's disgusting that it happens in the first place, that people think that we have to be cured. But it happens, and I think there needs to be laws against this kind of thing because it's just, I think it's personally wrong, simply put. So that's all I have to say this week. If you like listening to me talk, you should, the like button is down there, I think, and you should subscribe and come back next week. Thanks for watching. This week on Trans Youth Channel, Jay, am going to talk about coming out. Now, I came out as bisexual before I came out as a boy and as trans, but I'm not going to talk about that because nothing really happened. Nothing changed.